Obviously, we'll talk about October 7th and other issues today, but I want to talk about something first because it's on the precipice. We have a Category 5 hurricane that is going to slam into the west coast of Florida and basically devour the entire state. It's currently at 180 miles per hour. Over 156 miles an hour is a Category 5. So it's a category, call it whatever you want. Depending on the level of the wind and the surge that hits the west coast of Florida, it could be the worst hurricane in modern history, that is recorded history in the United States. We don't know, but it's going to be very, very bad. And the swath is going to cut through the vast majority of Florida, coming in the west, exiting on the east. At least that's their trajectory. In the meantime, people are still suffering from Hurricane Helene. Now, Fox and others have had all kinds of news people and cameras on location in western North Carolina. FEMA was not prepared. FEMA was not there. Joe Biden did not call up the 82nd Airborne, which apparently is not that far. It's in North Carolina, as I understand it. But they've called up the 82nd and the 101st a week later. A week later. Things were not properly pre-positioned. I don't care what this bureaucrat, Deanne Griswold, has to say. She was big on DEI. They talked about prioritization when it comes to these emergencies and these natural disasters, about LTBGG and what all the rest of it. It's insane. What we saw were people, volunteers, in the neighborhoods, in the community, in the state, throughout the country, private helicopters, private aircraft, flying in as many supplies as they could, individuals, organizations, charities, doing everything they could. They were the first on the ground. The first on the ground. And they weren't bringing $750 checks that could be deposited 10 days later. Essentials, water, food, clothing, flashlights, everything they could get. Samaritan's Purse, which isn't located too far from this area. Tremendous work, and others too. People have thanked the Red Cross. I know the Red Cross can be controversial, but it is what it is. And other organizations that have helped throughout the world. Veterans have been active. Police officers have been active. First responders in the localities have been active. Firefighters and so forth, mostly volunteers. Centralized red tape, big government. Versus just red-blooded Americans doing everything humanly possible to help their fellow citizens. Kamala Harris did not attend a single pre-Hurricane Helene meeting. Not one. And now, in the Gulf, off the west coast of Florida, is a massive hurricane. It's beyond a Category 5. There is no other category. Most houses in Florida that are newly built, under state law, have to meet 170 mile an hour wind capacity. That doesn't even include these massive waves. So the wind right now is even beyond the zoning requirements because they've never seen anything like this in modern times. They're talking about waves at 15 feet above sea level. Hurricane Helene was 7 feet at its highest point above sea level. Florida's going to get whacked. There you see Governor DeSantis. He's on the job. He's explaining where things are going to be, what people need to do. They have 30,000 men and women ready to work the power lines from all over the country. 8,000 National Guardsmen. And I could go on and on and on, but it is an enormous task for one state. It's an enormous task. Where's Kamala Harris today? Has she been in any pre-Hurricane Milton meetings with FEMA? No, she hasn't. Where's Joe Biden today? Has he been in any pre-Hurricane Milton meetings with FEMA? Not that we're aware of. They haven't announced any of it. What's the problem, America? Are they just too damn lazy? Is it because these are mostly Republican areas? What's the issue here? Are they just cold-blooded? This is their job. She's the vice president of the United States. I mean, doesn't she want to be seen as a leader? Doesn't she want to be seen as somebody who can get the job done? No. They want to distance themselves. I'm not the border czar. The border's exploded. No, I'm not the border czar. Hurricane Helene. Well, we've done everything possible, FEMA's on the ground. Well, which ground are they on? And now this hurricane. This hurricane is going to hit Wednesday. Today is Monday. Does Joe Biden give a speech to the nation? By the way, they may do all these things after they hear this program. But I'm saying, as of now, no speech. No warnings. These are natural disasters, but they have national impact. By the way, this is also a reason you need to vote early. You never know what the hell's going to happen in your life. But so I have seen nothing. Nothing. Have you? From this administration, at the highest levels, I've seen nothing. Talking to the American people, advising the American people, explaining that things are prepositioned and on and on and on. All we heard a few days back from the Secretary of DHS, who was impeached, and then that impeachment trial was blocked unconstitutionally by Schumer and the Democrats, the most incompetent bum ever to serve in public office, next to Kamala Harris, quite frankly. We're out of money. Congress is out of town. They're running for re-election. We're out of money. And I heard the speaker say, wait a minute, before we left, we gave them $20 billion more. Then we know they gave $1.4 billion for illegal aliens. No, that's not in that pot. That's in another pot. And then yet in another pot. Somehow, as Steve Ducey pressed the spokes idiot for the idiot president, did a fantastic job today. How is it that you find $157 million for Lebanon without Congress coming and meeting? And when it comes to North Carolina and Georgia and parts of Tennessee and other parts of this country that are really, really hurting, you have to wait for Congress. How is it possible? How is it possible they find the fortitude to forgive billions and billions of dollars in student loans? They don't really work very hard at this, do they, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to FEMA? Not very hard. Think about what would be going on in these mountain towns, in these rural areas right now if it wasn't for volunteers, if it wasn't for those private helicopters and other aircraft, if it wasn't for companies like Walmart and others stepping up, if it wasn't for all these great heroes and all these neighbors and the first local responders. Think about what would be going on. People would be starving to death. Many more would die than have died now. And they have a second crack at this, and nothing. We've heard nothing. If they're going to speak, today's the day to speak. Nothing. From Biden or Harris. And Harris wants a promotion. She's on some, what is it, TikTok show, some podcast, Mr. Producer, with some freak. Sex podcast, there you go. Then she's going to go on with The View, the Yentas. I guess she just wants to make sure that the left comes out and vote. Then she wants to go on Colbert, Howard Stern. This is how she intends to reach out to the American people. And this is in lieu of overseeing federal action when it comes to FEMA and Hurricane Milton. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, what a disaster this is. When you have people in charge of the instrumentalities of government, they really don't give a crap about the average person in this country while they're running around pretending that they do. It's dangerous. People die. There's casualties. The people in Florida, you know better than I. You know better than I. If you're in the way of this hurricane, particularly where it's going to come on land, get the hell out of there. I mean, get out. You've got a long way to go. Or some of you are going to die. Because nothing can withstand that kind of wind and that kind of ocean rise. It's just not possible. We have a lot of people in the WSKY area. You really need to pay attention to this. And all over Florida, we're heard all over Florida, from the very bottom of the tip to the very top of the boot.